International Water Futures Forum.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this second panel of the forum, which is focusing on regulation and water management, a comparative review of different systems. No? Well, I think this forum is a great event in order to share information, so that different people in the water sector, coming from different areas, from the authorities, from the operators or technology providers or other stakeholders, financing entities as well, can share different comments and different insights about what it is important in a regulatory system, in a tariff structure, and how can this reflect the actual needs of the system, the actual needs for investment, the actual needs for operation, the actual needs for improvement in the technologies that are involved in that. No? So we have wanted to have this panel to have this discussion, to have some kind of dialogue between some international experts that have agreed to come here, for which I am very thankful. And the whole idea is for them to explain their views about different tariff structures and tariff regulations in the water sectors of different countries, so that we can have a different comparison that can probably help us have our own opinion about what elements are really important to be present in a water regulatory system, and how can this influence the development of the water sector in the country. No? Of course, we are in Georgia. We're focusing about Georgia, but we also want to have an insight about how these elements are being discussed, are being developed in other countries, so that we can apply some of those conclusions to the regulatory system in Georgia, or at least we can have a discussion and a dialogue about it that will be probably very enriching. No? So first of all, I'm really honored to have these so distinguished guests and speakers. And first I'm going to ask Vera Eiro, who's the president of the Water and Waste Regulatory Body of Portugal, who's going to give us some insights about that. First of all, like I said, thank you very much, Vera, for coming here today to share with us your thoughts. And I wanted if you can give us some insights about how the regulatory system in Portugal addresses all the issues that we are always discussing about. How is infrastructure needs addressed? How is that addressed in the regulatory system of Portugal? What challenges do you see? How are the tariffs in Portugal updated? I mean, can you give us your impressions and your comments about this important matter?
Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you also for the invitation, for being here. I thank in particular GWP, Aqualia, and of course GNERC, the regulatory agency in Georgia. We work very closely among regulators in WAREG, in the European Water Regulators Association, and therefore it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I'm not sure if you are aware, but actually the tariff strategy here in Georgia that began to be implemented back in 2023 was the first intervention that WAREG, as European water regulators, had analyzing, assessing the policy, the regulatory framework, and making also some comments on it. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. Your queries are very big, of course. This is like the $1 million question. How can regulation actually help the sector? So this is how I see economic regulation and how I see us doing our job. Is a job where we try to make a balance between three different topics. first of all, consumers. So we are most of all focused on protecting consumers, because water consumers are people that do not have a choice. They need to consume water. And they also do not have a choice because there is only one utility that provides the service. So there is exclusivity, there is a monopoly, and therefore there is a need to have someone actually balancing the prices. So this is our first role. The second role is, of course, that we need to have services of quality. And therefore we are looking at what the utilities are actually doing, and are they providing or not quality services to the consumers? And of course, are they sustainable or not? This is also something that concerns the economic regulator, especially when the economic regulator regulates public utilities, which is the case also in Georgia and is the case also in Portugal. So we have a very diverse sector in Portugal. We have 14% of our population is served by private concessions, but of course we have the rest of the population is served by public utilities, either local companies or directly managed by municipalities. And therefore there is a need to actually say to the public utilities that they need to be sustainable, they need to exist now and in the future. And that is also one of our concerns as regulator. And then the third concern that we have is linked to the environment, because the services that are provided are very much linked to the quality of the environment and the quality of water. And therefore we need to have this special concern too, which makes us a bit different of other economic regulators, like in telecoms, for instance. We are pretty much focused also on the environment. And therefore I would put this in a way in my presentation. Not sure if I can actually, I'm okay, very well. Here it is. Here it's not. Here it is. Oh my God. Wait a moment.
It was.
Ah, very well. Very well. So, of course, the landscape that we work is ruled by the European Union. So the Drinking Water Directive is something that actually pinpoints the way to us as economic regulators, and actually makes us work in water governance. So we have this three-level structure: EU level, Portuguese level, and then the economic regulatory level. And so this is something that is in the back of our mind every time that we make a decision. And also regarding tariffs, this is something that is very much pointed out in our tariff structure. The need to have resilience, the need to be able to implement the national strategy in what regards water services, and the need to have it all linked together. What we do also is that we connect very much closely with the European Association, so that our KPIs and our tariff structure is not falling very much apart with the other tariff structure that exists in other European countries, so that we have a benchmark that is equivalent to most of the European countries. This is a difficult task. We are trying to have in WAREG the same type of vocabulary, the same type of KPIs, so that we are all trying to speak the same language in what regards water services. So what we had before economic regulation was 50% of safe drinking water, 80% of access to water supply services, 30% wastewater services, and a very, very large number of operators. How it is now, after we have implemented the economic regulation policy, is that we have increased a lot our KPIs. So the tariff structure, the way that we remunerate capital, the way that we try to have a consistency around tariff structure for all utilities, has actually improved a lot our indicators for our country in what regards water services. So this means that our work is very, very complex because we have a lot of diversity in our utilities. So when we speak about tariff setting, we need to have different rules for different types of utilities. To provide you an example, concessionaires, for instance, they have a concession agreement, and it is in the concession agreement where tariffs are implemented and regulated. So our work as economic regulator is to ensure that the concession agreement is complied with, and that on an yearly basis, whenever the tariffs are updated, they are updated as per what was agreed under the concession agreement. For instance, for direct management, what we do is every year we have a cost plus mechanism. So every year we adjust the tariffs, but the tariffs are calculated by the municipalities. We are confirming what the municipalities are doing. And if they are breaching the law, then we can actually tell them what is the tariff that they need to approve. But this is something different from the concession agreements. Also, something different is when the municipalities have a local company that is managing the water services. In that case, we also have a tariff adjustment that is made every 5 years. So there is an agreement that is set out between the local company and the municipality that sets out the tariff structure and how it's going to be implemented in a 5-year term, and we are confirming this. In the beginning, we approved this agreement, but every year we are confirming that the tariffs are adjusted as per the agreement. So we need to be adapting the regulatory framework to each type of utility. But that is from what we consider the costs to be recovered through the tariffs. The tariff structure, this is something that is equal for all utilities and that we are implementing first through a recommendation and now through a tariff regulation. So we have the tariffs that are considered into blocks of tariffs, and they are progressive. So we have one smaller tariff for the first block of 5 cubic meters, then another tariff that is covering costs for the second block of the additional 10 cubic meters, and then we have a third tariff that is a penalization for excessive use of water that is superior than the two other tariffs. So this is a block tariff with a fixed part of the tariff and a variable part of the tariff. So on the one hand, we have different rules according to the utility and according to the management of the utility, but we have the same set of rules for the consumer. And we take the protection of the consumer, the transparency, the consistency very, very seriously in Portugal, because this is the most difficult topic that we find in economic regulation, is how to make the consumer understand the value of the service that they are having and what they are paying for this service. So we try to make an adaptable model of regulation because the sector is very fragmented. We have a large number of public and private operators. It is highly politicized, so we have to have a certain set of rules that is very clear, that is very technical, so that all the utilities can apply this set of rules that are made by the regulator. So this means that whenever we are doing and approving our regulatory intervention, we need to be very clear on what we are aiming for with our regulations. And we are currently approving a new set of tariff regulations in Portugal. So we are in the public consultation phase. And the key topics that we are considering in the tariff regulations are water efficiency, resilience, preparedness and adaptations. We have a specific set of rules regarding fires, fire prevention, regarding circular economy, because we need to be able to have investment made on these particular topics for resilience purposes. And of course, we are considering adequate pricing regarding our water scarcity, risk mitigation, and of course, the share of resilience between all beneficiaries. This is particularly important here in Portugal because we are currently moving forward a phase where we produce water through desalination. And this water is being produced for all sectors, because of all sectors, so irrigation purposes too, and therefore there is a need to have all the users actually chipping in on the financing of these big infrastructures that will produce water, and this is also a challenge for us. WAREC, as an association, has been very instrumental for us in Portugal because through WAREC we have had a lot of exchange of information. Regarding tariff setting, tariff updates, WAREC has extensive reports around the scope of tariff setting in Europe, and this is something that we are doing continuously. Also, benchmarking and KPIs are completely a priority in Europe, and of course, WAREC is working on this set of KPIs that would bring together all the economic regulators. So, coming back to your point, in Portugal, because of the diverse landscape of utilities that we have different regulatory models considering the different nature of our utilities. But considering the consumer, we try to have one consumer through all the countries. So all consumers are equal, and therefore we try to have the same tariff structure for the whole country, regardless of the utility that is providing the service. So this is very challenging, but it's a way that we think it's necessary to provide a safe environment for the consumer and also for investing parties in the Portuguese economy.
Thanks, Vera. Look, you know that the reflection of actual costs in the tariff, that is, it is in the European regulation. It is a recommendation by all the international associations and institutions. But at the end of the day, is something very difficult to achieve, really, because I mean, all the professionals in the sector, we know that in order to have the infrastructure, to invest enough in the infrastructure so that you don't have you don't allow the infrastructure to age to a point in which it starts causing operational problems. You need to invest a significant amount every year just to keep it at the same level of operation. No? So, I mean, how does Portugal or the regulatory system in Portugal addresses this matter? I mean, to combine the adequate investment in the upgrade or renewal, not growth, but maintenance or renewal of the existing infrastructure, and balancing it with a tariff level which is, enough or affordable for the people.
Well, the first thing that we do is we measure the investment in maintenance in infrastructure. So we have one KPI where we measure the investment that is made, and we classify utilities as per the investment that is being made. So our KPI, the good level of our KPI is 2% per year, and in our sector we have an average of 0.6% per year. So it's too low. But of course, to measure is the first thing to do, because if we measure, then we can compare the utilities and we can see who is doing what and when. So this is the first thing that we do. Well, the second thing that we do is we measure whether or not the costs are being recovered by the utility. And surprisingly, in Portugal, the average number is more than 100% in the water supply. So what what does this mean? It means that the average actually is hiding very, very different utilities. So we have some utilities, usually corporate-based utilities, being them private or public, that cover costs. So more than 100% in covering their costs, 180% more or less, so they're okay. But then we have the smaller utilities under direct management that are not covering at all the costs. So they are being subsidized and they are not actually making the investment. So this is also a second thing that we do. We see who's doing what, but what we have seen is that it's not necessary and sufficient condition to have cost recovery and investment, because some utilities have cost recovery but do not have the 2% investment that would be required. So this is a conclusion that we have on a 10-year series of years, is that this is a necessary condition to have cost recovery in order to make the investment, but this is not enough. So the conditio, it's necessary, but not enough. So we need to have additional things, because the investment is not being made, and this is an hypothesis that we are putting forward, because it is not visible enough that this investment is made for political reasons. So it's very hidden, and therefore even utilities that are covering costs, they do not have enough reasons to make the investment, because investment in the water supply and the wastewater supply, wastewater infrastructure is too hidden, and therefore there is a need to make the consumer more aware of this so that there is more investment. So this is something that we also work upon. We cannot, as economic regulator, we cannot impose, we do not have sanction powers to impose investment. But whenever there is, for instance, a concession agreement, we audit the concession agreement. We see if the concessionaire is making the investment, so that the grantor can impose sanctions and penalties if the investment is not made. But we for now, at least, we don't have any sanction powers as regulator. So what do we do to try to incentivize investment? Well, we provide awareness to the sector that so that the consumer actually values the services that are being rendered, so that utility has an additional incentive to make the investment. We measure, and we measure other KPIs that are linked to investment, like breaches of water supply or wastewater supply. So we measure them and we link them so that utilities are aware, look, you are not making the investment, and this is a decrease of your indicators. But this has been in Portugal pretty much based on what we call a sunshine regulation model. So we measure and we make the whole sector aware of the reality, but for now we don't have any imposition powers to do so. And additionally, for the state's utility, we approve investments. So whenever there is an investment that needs to be made that is more than 500k euros, we actually look into the investment, see if it's necessary, and provide an opinion to the government approving or not approving that investment, so that when it is approved, then it can be considered for tariff-related purposes. But of course, tariffs are calculated covering CAPEX, OPEX, and the remuneration of capital.
Thanks. That is an extremely interesting commentary, really, and you are touching in the recurrent issue that we face everywhere. I mean, how to encourage investment, And at the same time, how do we keep tariffs structured in a level that can be affordable, and also the public authorities can be somewhat have comfort in the situation with that, no? So extremely interesting. Thank you very much, Vera. And we are moving now to the example of Spain, with the contribution of Rocío Santiago, whom I'm extremely happy that she can be with us today, contributing to this panel, and because she is a professional in the water business that has been dealing with multiple different projects, different countries, different systems. And lately, she has been working in the Spanish business of Aqualia, where she is the Director of Operations in Aqualia, covering operations in all the countries of the company. But I have particularly asked her to provide us for some insight about the regulatory system in Spain. In Spain, we don't have a regulator, like in Portugal. But I want to ask Rocío the same question that I asked Vera. I mean, how are tariffs in general structured in Spain? How is the Spanish system coping with the same issues of the Portuguese or the Georgian or all of the countries' system, on how to address the need of infrastructure, the need of implementing technology in the services, so that the water service can be also making some progress as along technology gets better and more efficient. And for that, of course, you will need resources. And how does the water services in Spain deal with all of these issues in your experience, Rocío?
Thank you. I'm really pleased of being here. Good afternoon to everyone. Well, in Spain, our model is decentralized. We indeed don't have a national independent water regulator, because the responsibility of the water services relies in each municipality. So every municipality has to approve their own water tariffs, and they are completely autonomous on it. But even though we follow the same water tariff structure, which has proven to be successful in Spain, and it relies mainly on 4 main ideas, which are the ones I want to share with you this afternoon. Our tariffs have a binomial structure following the cost recovery principles. So we have a fixed component and a variable component. Another main idea is that our variable component is tiered. It is in progressive blocks so that we can encourage efficiency of the water use. We have targeted social mechanisms to protect our vulnerable users. And lately, in the modern tariffs, we are having an investment component trying to deal with this huge problem we have everywhere, I think, around the world, which is the lack of investment and the aging of our infrastructure. So, focusing on the first idea, the binomial structure, we have different tariffs for the 3 parts of the water service: water, drinking water, sanitation, and wastewater treatment. And if we follow deeper on them, for example, for drinking water, our fixed component, it is usually expressed as euro per month, and the price depends on the size of the meter the client has. What do we have inside this fixed component? The fixed part of the cost of the service. We have personnel, billing, administrative operations, bad debt provisions, concession fees, and fixed infrastructure maintenance. If we go to the variable component, we express it as euro per cubic meter. And I think the most important thing of this variable component in Spain is that it is in progressive blocks. So you have a first block up to, for example, 20 cubic meters per month and household, and it has a price usually half next block and a tier of the next block. This increases efficiency. You have to take account that in Spain we have regions with a big problem of droughts, and we need to deal and to explain people that we all need to take care of these main resource. What do we include in our variable component of the tariff? The variable costs, energy, chemical consumptions, waste management in the case of wastewater treatment plants. And in all of these tariff components, we always design social measures. I want to give you the clear idea that social design can coexist with cost recovery principles if the discounts are targeted and are transparent. So we can have all the users to pay their bills, and we can get the bills lower, but just for those clients who can't pay them. We are avoiding what we call blanket subsidies, which at the end will not follow the transparency of the cost that we are trying to achieve. For the sewage and wastewater treatment plant charges, we have more or less the same. At the end, we have a fixed component and a variable component. And sometimes we include in the bill another special charges, connections fees, meter rental, some concepts related to the environment, for example, rainfall overflows, or drought surcharges in periods of drought that are specifically applied only during these drought periods. How we deal with the tariffs update? At the end, the tariffs must evolve. Not just because we have costs that increase every year, but because we need to adapt our tariffs to the new regulations. We have to comply with regulations from the European Union and strict regulations. We have to deal with climate change pressures that we are suffering a lot in Spain and I think in many places in the world. And we need to increase the transparency and the comprehension of our bills. So these are the different reasons why we need to evolve and update our tariffs if possible, every year. In Spain, municipalities have to deal with not always easy or quick process to approve their tariffs via local ordinances. And this is a process with different steps. And the first one is the operator who prepares a technical and economical study following and explaining the cost of the service. We propose a new tariff that will balance the revenues that we are expecting to have with that tariff with the cost of the service. Once we have all that prepared, we submit it to our municipality. Usually they ask for additional information. Sometimes they ask for some changes in the prices, because at the end, this is a local tailoring. As the municipality has the responsibility, they also have the faculty to design their tariffs. Once they have tariffs which they feel comfortable with, they submit it to public consultation. This is a period usually of a month. And after that period, if there are no allegations, the tariffs are approved by City Council and they are published in official bulletins. So transparency and traceability of cost are the core of the updating tariffs in Spain. Pros and cons of this system. Well, the advantages, I have listed them so I don't forget anyone. Municipal authority, autonomy, a local tailoring, every municipality can adapt tariffs to their special needs and their local realities, hydrological, demographic, financial. Efficiency incentive via progressive blocks, rising price in every block encourages efficient use of water. Cost recovery orientation. This is like a mantra for us. We need tariffs that will cover the cost of the service. Flexibility to address environmental challenges, because we are managing a resource that we lack of sometimes because of drought. And affordability. We are always aware that we need to have services affordable to everyone, and this is the reason why we design social tools to protect those who can't pay the bill. The disadvantages of our system: fragmentation. In Spain, we have more than 8,000 municipalities, and luckily, most of them follow this principle I'm explaining to you, but it is difficult for benchmarking, for regulatory oversight, and sometimes it is difficult for the user to understand the different tariffs of each municipality. Not having an independent national regulator makes us strongly dependent of each municipality's capacity and on the operator's professionalism. We sometimes have insufficient tariffs in some areas. Historically, many municipalities have kept their tariffs low for political reasons, and this has led us to under-recovery of costs, underinvestment, aging of infrastructure, and in some municipalities, poor compliance with the European Union directives. And last one, price of water is something that political parties used against each other. So every time a municipality has to deal with the needed update of the tariff, they experience public resistance, usually instigated by the opposing party. So that was for the part of how our tariffs are set in Spain and which structure they have. And for the other difficult question, which was how we deal with the cost recovery principle and with the need of investment. In the modern tariffs, for the cost recovery principle, we are already dealing because we set our tariffs based on the cost of the services. We divide between fixed and variable components, and we have to submit our municipality a very detailed exercise of all the costs we are having in the service. So I think we are dealing with that, and the other part we are not dealing so well with is the investment component. We need a huge amount of money in every municipality to deal with the problem of aging infrastructure, and this means higher bills. So is there where we find that a national regulator will help the municipalities to have higher tariffs, escaping from the political local discussion in order to grant the operator, which at the end, most of the times is the big investor in the system, to have prices higher enough so he can recover the investment he has made.
Thanks a lot, Rocío. Look, Vera has explained before that they have a regulator in Portugal, but however, they also experience the same issue that you just described, that the difficulty to encourage the municipalities to have a higher tariff so that they will have more resources to be able to expand in infrastructure, no, to prevent aging. How can an operator help the authorities in this regard, according to your experience, Rocío?
Well, in Spain, I think in most of the services in the municipalities we work in Aqualia, we have in place investment plans. We are defining, because we know the needs of the water system, so we propose the municipality the works needed. We are in this position to finance them, and we calculate the investment component of the tariff in a long time basis, so that we can invest, improve the service, and we will be paid back during 20-25 years. So, because the needs are now, we have to protect our systems now. Some of them are really deteriorated in a very bad state, and we are facing with environmental risks and with supply risk. So we need the investment to be made now, and the municipalities don't have the money to do it. So we are always willing to finance these works if the tariff will grant that the investment will be recovered.
Okay, thank you, Rocío. Anatol Senica is the CEO of SMBAC, which is a very important company, very important water company in the Czech Republic, being responsible to provide service in the area of Ostrava, in the east of the country. I am going to ask you, Anatol, according to your experience in the country, in Czech Republic, can you briefly explain how the regulatory system of that deals with the water service in Ostrava, how does it work? What are the main elements that drive the structuring of the tariff there? And can you give us your comments regarding all of this, very general issue that we have been discussing about cost and reflecting in the tariff?
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation and to be here in Tbilisi and to share information from the Czech Republic. I would like to share with you some slides. Czech Republic has 10.9 million inhabitants. The capital city is Prague, with 1.4 million inhabitants. I think that is the same like in the Tbilisi. And GDP per capita is more than 35,000 US dollars, and we are on the 39th position in the world. About our market. The length of the drinking water is more than 80,000 kilometers. For the wastewater, more than 50,000 kilometers. And the households are connected for the drinking system from 95% and from the sewage system from the 90%. What is very important to share with you the number for the water losses. The average number in the Czech Republic is 14.88%. And in our company, we have a milestone for 2025, it's 7.9%. It's, I think, a very good performance. And what is worth that we have a lot of owners, and it's more than 8,000. We are smaller than the Spain, but we have a lot of owners. We had a lot of operators, more than 3,000. And for your imagination, we have 6,000 municipalities in the country. How it's possible that we have more owners than is the municipalities? Because, for example, the private owners are owners, and developers are owners, or could be the owners too. On the market, we have several regulatory bodies and stakeholders. the 5 of them, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Health, and the State of Environmental Fund, with a different regulatory framework, focusing on price regulation, water and sewage regulation, drinking water quality, and environmental improvement, with the objectives focusing on the affordability for the price, about the quality of the water, and about the water service infrastructure sustainability. And it's enough. And we don't have a central regulator. We don't have a central regulator for the pricing and for the price. Tariff calculation is given by the format published by the decree of Ministry of Agriculture. It's about the format. It's the same for all operators or for all owners, but the methodology for the tariffs are given by the Ministry of Finance. To the tariff, we can account only eligible costs. What is the eligible cost is given by the decree of the Ministry of Finance. The part of the tariff is the depreciation and rent, in the case that you have a rent or you are operating over the concession. It's necessary to decrease the extra revenue from the infrastructure. It's the activities like self-pool disposal, for example, divided by expected volume. We have a regulated profit. The profit is based on the formula and working with the replacement asset value. And this is multiplied by regulatory rate of return. In the case that you are the owner, it's 0.95. In the case that you are an operator, it's 0.94. If you are both, what is our example, we have both profits. In the case that you have a higher investment that you have in the depreciation, you have some additional part for your profit, and it's amount spent above the renewal plan, divided by the expected volume. This is a tariff. This is a tariff for drinking water, the storage water, for bulk water. It's the same format. The tariff is approved by the owners, by the assets, and the planned tariff is necessary to send to Ministry of Finance. It's necessary to, after the year, to prepare the statement comparing the plan and the reality, and it's necessary to send it to the Ministry of Agriculture. It looks complicated, but it's giving the logic. The Ministry of Agriculture is doing something like the benchmarking. The benchmarking is very important, and they are doing benchmarking for all of this data. What I mean, all operators or the owners have to send this information to the central register, and from this central register is the Ministry of Agriculture is able to do a benchmarking. It's public, and all of customers, all of stakeholders are able to check the performance from the different companies or from different owners, and to see how it's working. It's about the tariff.
Thank you, Anatol.
And in the case that you would like to know something about the investment, probably yes.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I want to ask you a question because what you have explained is very interesting. In your system, in the system that you are describing for Czech Republic, the investments that are eligible to be included in the tariff as the RAB, the regulatory asset base or asset whatever, is valued at the replacement value. Whereas in other systems, like in Georgia, it is valued at actual expenditure value. No. So this system that you have should be helping to allocate the actual need of investment in the tariff so that the infrastructure shouldn't be aging as much. Is this the case, or are there all other elements that are playing that maybe don't really help it that much? Can you give us your opinion about that, please?
The replacement asset value is given by the formula by the Ministry of Agriculture. It's necessary to explain that is the current value of the assets, because we have a historical assets, and it's not given sense to work with the historical numbers. It's necessary to work with the current numbers, and the necessity to know how much Czech crowns or euros you need for every year. I will talk about it in the next slide. What is it, and how to work with in the Czech Republic. What is advantage for us that the regulatory bodies are aiming for the sustainability of the operating, about the sustainability of the service, and about the sustainability of the assets. It's very important. It's very important because in the case that you are not able to show the necessary costs and necessary investment to the tariff, it's something wrong, and somebody will pay it in the future, but with higher costs tend to spend it now. The regulatory asset value is calculated from the value of assets and the replacement costs divided by the useful life of the assets. In our case, it's about 50 years. It's average useful life for the assets. Sorry, I don't have the numbers in my head in euros. I have it in the Czech. But the value of the assets, it's around 50 billion Czech crowns divided by the 50 years. It means that we need every year to spend around 1 billion Czech crowns to the assets. It's the plan. It's mandatory for all owners. It's necessary to have it, and the authorities can check how you are fulfilling this plan, and it's very important. In the case that the owner of the assets is not able to fulfill the plan, then it's about the penalties. And I think it's the right way how to work with the investment and to have a control on it, because the Ministry of Agriculture can say to us, show me your plan, how you are fulfilling your plan. And it's not only about the amount. You have to show them the real investment actions from year to year. And in the case that we are thinking about the necessity to apply all necessary costs and all necessary investment, we are talking what is the reasonable price for the final customer. And it's crucial. I think that it's crucial, and it's very important for the politicians, representatives, of course. And in the Czech Republic, we are using something like the social acceptable price. Social acceptable price is an unwritten rule in the European Union. And it's 2% from the income from the families or individuals. It's 2%. And the average price in the Czech Republic is 1.2%. 1.2%. What I am saying that we are not, in the case that we are giving what we need to the costs for the investment, we are not on the top, and we are not with the problems with the social acceptable price. It's very important. And the pricing, I think that it will be bomb for you to see. However, you can see the development of the price. You can see the average price in Czech Republic and our price. And the average price is violet in Czech Republic and ours is blue. The average price for 2026 is on the level of 5.45 euros per cubic meters in the Czech Republic. Our tariff is 5.88 euros per cubic meters. I think that it's too high. But believe me, not too high. Not too high. Because what I said, we are talking about the social acceptable price. What is the 2%? We are on the level 1.2%. And what is necessary to say that our consumption is lower. Per day, per person, per liter, the average consumption is 120 liters, average. For householders, it's 84 liters per day per person. I think it's not on the bottom, but I think it's very low. And the average price or social average acceptable price for the Czech Republic is 7.1 euros per cubic meter. To have the comparison, what I am saying. And this is the deviation or the development of the price only for our region and for our social acceptable price for our region. You can see that we are under the social acceptable price. It could be the way how to increase the tariff and to show the customers you are not paying too much, because sometimes it's something like the block in the head. And I have tried to prepare something, and in the case that somebody in the Czech Republic is saying that it's very expensive, I'm saying, okay, do you think that the water is necessary for the life? It's necessary for us and for the development? I think that everybody is able to say, yes, of course, it's true. And we are paying so much because the water is going from the gut. But in the case that I'm asking, okay, how much are you paying for the internet connections or the cell phones? It's much higher than you are paying for the water. And it's the message. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anatol. Very interesting presentation and comments. And it's really touching on the same matter, but with some specific insights of your system, with the regulatory system in Czech Republic, I mean, which are something that we should have also in mind. I mean, obviously, a system has to help to be able to gather resources so that the operator can have resources enough to cover for the expenses and the needs of the service, no? But at the same time, there has to be a balance of the affordability of the bill for the people, no? Because we cannot forget that this is, I mean, we are all working for the people, really.
Yeah.
No? So thanks, Anatol. Very interesting.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you.
Yes, David. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for coming and participating in this panel. And your participation is always really welcome because you have extensive experience, not only as the president of GNERC, you have extensive experience as the minister before and also mayor of Tbilisi. So you are a person that really, you have been dealing with these matters that we are discussing today for a very long time. And you, better than anybody, can really explain how hard it is to reach balance in all of these matters that are at play. No? The regulatory system in Georgia, we really consider it's a very good instrument that is in place here in order to be able to generate resources. I mean the regulatory system that is in place in Tbilisi, Mtskheta, and Rustavi. No? However, I mean, it is not yet, the tariff level is not yet reflecting the actual costs and need for replacement of infrastructure. You know, the big effort that GWP is making every year to invest as much as possible, but we all know that this balance of the tariff level with the affordability is always imposing some limits that are difficult to overcome. But what I would like you please to give us is how do you see in the future the evolution of the system, the evolution of the regulatory system that we have in place in this area of Tbilisi, Rustavi, and Misketa, and also in the rest of the country, which we are well aware that in the rest of the country, there is not yet a system like this. How are you envisaging that this system is evolving in the future?
Thank you very much, Jose. ქართულად გავაკეთე პრეზენტაცია.
I will make the presentation in Georgian, with your permission, given that the majority of the audience are Georgian speaking. It is highly important, of course, the role of the regulatory commission in a number of areas. We, as a regulatory entity, always try to find the golden middle to balance between the investor on the one hand and the society, customers on the other. Because firstly, of course, on the one hand, our infrastructure needs upgrading, and investments as much as possible are necessary. During the first panel, I did presented information about the investment needs in GWP area, and we have seen that since the Aqualia entered, the volume investments increased considerably, and we have been able to replace and upgrade infrastructure outdated. Tbilisi, Rustavi, we have identified numerous issues where there were numerous faults, and this process is underway in coordination with municipalities. We know that the investment by a private investor needs the return to be reflected in the tariff, and therefore we, being the regulatory authority, try to balance this between the investor and customers. And we have designed a number of indicators that we are using to measure the regulation, that we the effect of regulation. And to speak about the metering, this is one of the significant components that this indicator has been increasing year by year because it is related to rational consumption and use of water, like a more saving sort of a mode of water, and it changes the behavior of customers, and customers become more saving oriented. And we have three types of tariffs. This is this is for the commercial sector, non-household, where basically everyone has a meter, and billing is based on meter information. We have households for the residents, where there are two categories: those who have meters, and the billing is based on and payments are based on the meter data. But there is still, unfortunately, certain category of residents where they don't have meters, where it's technically impossible in old buildings, or the metering process is underway, and the diagram presented here shows that when that the metering process is intensively underway. This diagram doesn't show GWP area only. This shows the metering level throughout the country, and we can observe the increase. The zinc metering, which includes GWP as well as other areas where we have higher the amount and the share of the customers with meter. And we set the tariffs in a way so that customers are compelled to apply to the company to have meters installed. And that's how we are sort of compelling or the coercing, quote unquote, in a good sense, customers to request meters installation, because ultimately they will pay less than otherwise. And one of the proper regulation effects is that the investments have increased, and during 2022-2026, since Aqualia Group entered the GWP area, throughout these years, over 530 million lari investments to the end of this year will have been implemented, and this has already delivered its impact and results in areas where the investments have been implemented. The customer satisfaction is high because of the stoppages and decrease, and our main goal to reach higher satisfaction of customers has been achieved. Customer satisfaction is dependent on very simple things, the continuous service and affordable tariff. And when we are setting tariffs, we are doing two analytical work in this part. Firstly, we compare, including the tariff, our tariff in Europe and the average tariffs, and affordability in the indices. They are also used to measure the affordability for customers of water, because we to have a really unique country having these rich water resources, and customers can open the tap and drink, which luxury is not present everywhere. And to some extent, of course, we have to note this in favor of the company that is conducting their activities at a due level. And we have also mechanisms along with other mechanisms, and I won't list all of them now, because tomorrow, as part of another panel, I will be able to discuss other indicators. And two mechanisms is what I would like to draw your attention to now, which is the satisfaction of customers related. If customer, for instance, thinks that the billing is higher than their consumption, and so they are challenging it, they can appeal the billing at the GNERC. We are examining individually about over 3,000 complaints are throughout a year. So billing or meter was damaged, or there was some error. A lab test of meters is conducted. In such cases, we have the provisional billing mechanism. And interesting statistics I would like to display: on average 500, 600,000, 700,000 laris, 2024, 1,100,000 lari, which was considered by the GNERC as incorrectly billed or as the over sort of expired sort of arrears and was written off. We also have the commercial service quality indicators set, for instance, new customers connection. For this, we have fee of service as well as the time frames within which the company has to connect to the water as well as sewage network, respective new customer. If there are any subjective circumstances and the company operator fails to fit within the time frames, our system automatically accrues compensation. So the fee for connection in case of one of the overdue, the fee will be halved, and in case of the second time, it will be zero. And in 2024, it amounted to almost 3 million lari in the water in favor of the customers as compensation paid by companies in water supply. And this is another good mechanism for the operators, like a compelling and coercion to comply with the time frames and deadlines and timely connect new customers to networks of water supply and sewage. Since we have been discussing tariffs, I would like to also highlight another point, which is in the commercial sector, the tariff is considerably higher than in the household, which is not as regular. And GNERC, respectively, thinks considering the changing the tariff structure to bring these two tariffs closer. We are also examining various European countries' experience. WAREG has been helping us a lot in many respects. I would like to use this opportunity and extend gratitude to the head of WAREG because we are able to get information about tariff structures of various countries in a very swift manner. And whenever we are undertaking for us to rely on good experience for working on our tariffs, and we hope that we will rely on those. And our tariff calculation methodology in the water supply, of course, is based on a good European experience and examples. We have inbuilt our specificity and peculiarities specific to Georgia, and the key performance indicators as well. They are based on best experience, international experience, and in the water supply sector, we have way better indicators than in case of energy, in which we have longer experience of regulation, and the water regulation is quite advanced in Georgia. Thank you very much. This is mainly what I wanted to underscore and speak about in my part. If there are any questions, of course, I will be happy to address them.
Thanks a lot, David. That's very clarifying. I'd like to use the chance that you are here in this panel because GNERC is the regulator of the water, also electricity, gas, and so on. No? And I'd like to ask you a question about the electricity liberalization change in the regulation that is expected to be entering into force sometime probably next year. Can you please give us an update on how is this progressing? What is your expectation regarding that?
Thank you very much. With pleasure, I can, because we are energy as well as water regulatory commission. Of course, we are undertaking reforms in energy and natural gas sector as well. In case of electricity, market liberalization process commenced several years ago, and it comprised two generation liberalization and in the part of the customers as well, liberalization and getting to the open market for purchasing energy. All hydroelectric stations, other than 5 ones, have already been sort of on the open market without GNERC setting tariffs for them. Out of these 5, 4 hydro as a market entry. Has been planned with the government respective decision. In case of GWP, we have a particular case. This company has water supply as well as generation. Jin Valley, a unique hydroelectric station. At a certain point when the liberalization decision was to be made, the government, in consultation with GNERC, made an interim decision, and Jin Valley was PSO obligation was set for Jin Valley, envisaging that by 2030, Jin Valley, for Tbilisi water supply, electricity should be provided to GWT under the tariff set by GNERC, which is way lower than it would have been in case of purchasing on the open market, which of course, from the perspective of the consumers' rights protection and to relieve pressure on the tariff, was a progressive step. And only the excessive energy, whatever remains in Jin Valley, is traded on the open market, which is a very interesting, has been an interesting solution. And from the investors were very forwardcoming and adequately sort of appreciated it, and respectively the electricity for Tbilisi water supply, it is relatively at more, we can say that roughly 3 times cheaper than in case of the open market purchase. And the stations gradually will enter the open market and trade their energy, sell their energy. The biggest station, which is Nguri hydroelectric station, and Varnilhesi Cascade, which will remain under GNERC regulation, with us continuing to set tariff for these 2 because they are very major. And secondly, for universal service providers such as Telmico and EnergoPro, energy supply to them, this enables the cheaper energy, and it is 100% state-owned. And as for the other side, the customers, so far the exchange is voluntarily opened since a year and a half already. During this year, generation entities sold energy and certain customers purchased energy on the exchange. And we observed 2 things: that the Nord Pool model, which we are using, is good and it's operational, and possibly when this exchange opens fully, we can rely on that. And energy trading on the exchange helps customers save some amounts. Despite the low liquidity, the electricity price was set, and respective savings over 1 million lari through these small-scale tradings have been achieved, which is also good news. So, based on the latest decision of the government, the opening of the market 2027 July has been set. If no other change is implemented upon this date, on this date, this market or exchange will be opened.
David, very, very insightful comments, and thank you for the update on the energy regulation implementation. Well, we have our last speaker, José Miguel Santos, who's the CEO of GWP and the related companies. He's a person of extensive experience in multiple countries in the water business, and he's been performing this role for ever since Aqualia entered in Georgia. So I'm very happy that he's here with us today, and he can give us his comments and his views about how can the current regulatory system and the tariff structure here in Georgia can be improved in some way, although we all know that it's a very reliable and visible system. But how can it be even improved to try to get closer to achieving the goals of cost recovery and cope the problem of infrastructure aging?
Thank you, Jose Enrique. Thank you very much. I have to be here. This is for sure. I'm the first one that I'm really pleased to see you all here. And you know, since we thought about the organization of this forum, we contacted GINER, we contacted the city hall, the government. So the answer was yes. Okay, we will be with you. So we are very happy being here with you. You know, I have thought a lot about the regulation. We have been here for years in Georgia. Now, since 2022, the truth is that time flies. And we are a company that, if you realize, no matter the regulation we have, okay, we have always the same objective, which is to provide the best service to our customers. Because probably one of the main differences between us and other water companies is really our long-term vision and our commitment with the citizens, the commitment with the customers, in order to provide every single year a better service, you know? So the regulation, Mr. David has explained today briefly about how the regulation works in Georgia. Of course, we have to think about our objectives. We have to think about our priorities. And first, we always said that one of the reasons why Aqualia was here is that because there is this kind of regulatory framework. There is a transparent model, there is a clear methodology for the remuneration of the investments. We know the KPIs that apply. So we see that it's a very robust, stable system. And I have to say that we are aligned with regulator on practically all goals that Mr. David showed us this morning. We are fully aligned with that. So the challenge for the regulator, because I have seen in these 4 years some changes, and I understand that the regulator is playing really a vital role. I always say that regulator is key in the water sector in Georgia, of course, for the development of the water sector. But if I say that they are vital, is because they have to consider not only the current situation, they have to consider the past, they have to consider the current situation, they have to consider the future as well, and they have to, let's say, to create the conditions, they have to have a mechanism, they have to have rules, okay? They have to regulate very well the relationships between the company and the customers. They have to do this with basic principles and pillars, okay? About sustainability, about affordability, and probably the challenge is how we can balance the affordability for the customers with the sustainability of the system. The truth is that in these 4 years we have a perfect, or if not perfect, we have a very, very good knowledge of what situation we have, what challenges we have from the technical point of view. And the regulation is working in a way that yes, there is a remuneration for the investments. And of course, we are so much interested in implementing the investments because if we don't have the capacity to renovate our infrastructures, considering that practically 40% of the networks are fully amortized, another 20% are reaching let's say the life cycle. Okay, if we don't renovate the infrastructures, we are going to suffer on daily basis. Okay, as we have been suffering during these years. So we are the first one interested in selecting very well the investments, and the regulation in this case is fully aligned with this principle because we want to maximize the impact on our investments. I mean, the impact of our investments on the service we provide. Okay, so I think tomorrow I don't want to extend on this because tomorrow we can talk about the investments. Okay, but there is a full alignment, let's say, between the regulation, okay, and what the company needs, okay, to think about, to plan, okay. I want to mention another important point because here our main priority is how we can do things to improve the service, okay. We want our let's say, our service to improve, but really to be visible for everybody, okay? We knew from the beginning that the improvement is just a gradual process, okay? The improvement is just a cumulative process, okay? And we see this. Tomorrow we will see some of the figures, okay? We see this, okay? But honestly, we want more. And it is true that from the investments, okay, we are going to get an improvement. We are going to, of course, to increase the security of the system, which is absolutely fundamental, okay? But I have to say that operations and the efficiency in the operations is also key, okay, to really impact, okay, on the service we provide to the citizens. And from this point of view, probably the regulation has to create little by little some kind of scenario for incentivizing, okay, the benefits from the operations and the benefits from the efficiency on the operations. We have reduced by 35% the electricity consumption in Rustavi. We have reduced by 10% in the last 3-4 years in Tbilisi. And of course, this optimization, this efficiency is going to be a benefit for the customers and a benefit for the tariff, okay? So we feel that this is of course, our responsibility. But at the same time, it's fundamental that we can establish a very strong organization, okay? And from this point of view, we have to think that we have to invest and spend on different issues that maybe are not visible or are not directly connected to the investments, or what about investing on improving the skills of our workers, to train, to have more vocational people, because you know, I'm sure that one of the challenges that we have is the labor market, okay? And we are a sector that we need to rely on people that is working with us for years and can consolidate a knowledge and expertise, okay, about our water system. So we need to invest on that, and whatever amount we invest on this is going to be positive for the service we provide to the citizens. What about health and safety, for instance? We have done a huge effort really to change, to improve the conditions of health and safety. What about repairs of the networks, to be more active on improving the non-revenue waters, for instance, the water losses, which is a key indicator for everybody. So we have to invest on all these areas, okay? And the regulatory framework, the regulation has to be sensitive to the positive impact from the operations, you know.
Thank you very much, Jose Miguel. I think it's a very valuable comment on how the regulatory system here in Georgia can be improved. Now I'd like to open the floor to anybody in the audience that has managed to endure with us until this point and would like to comment on anything that we have been discussing or asking or proposing any topic.
Sorry, if you allow me just to say something, I see Otto wanting to ask something, but let me say something about the tariff, because obviously when we talk about sustainability of the model, sustainability of the framework, we have to talk about sustainability of the tariff, of the water tariff. We know that the current system in Georgia is a very let's say basic scheme, okay, that even is possible to find it in other places as well. But what we have is I think David mentioned that before as well. We have 3 different customers, okay. One of them are commercial customers that they are paying let's say European tariff, okay. We have household consumption, residential customers that are paying 0.5 laris per cubic meter. And then we have, just because it is a particularity in Georgia, because 50% of our customers have no meters, these customers are paying 4.5 laris per person per month. So what we see here is that, there is a big gap between commercial and household. There is a cross subsidy, okay, that is really creating a big imbalance. And as I think David said before, in the future, this gap has to be reduced, okay. But also there is some cross subsidy from those customers that have no meters, because they are paying without limitation of consumption. So, and they are paying an amount and a tariff that is equivalent, let's say, to the consumption of a family that has a meter, okay? So obviously, to establish a tariff that, of course, following the basic principles of affordability, it has to be fair, but has to, let's say, establish on a way that full operational expenses and amortization of the investments is going to be recovered. So it means that a binomial tariff, okay, as we have in Portugal, in Spain, in many countries and cities, is one scheme that allows you, okay, to be fair, to see this affordability as well, to introduce more awareness or incentives for reducing big consumption, okay, and this is a scheme that could be suitable as well for Georgia. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jose Miguel. And I think there was somebody. Yeah. Okay. Please go ahead.
Hello. My name is Otto Datnashvili. I'm a director of analytics, regulations and control in GWP. And first of all, I would like to thank you all of the speakers for very comprehensive and informative speeches. It was very interesting for us. Specifically, I would have a question for Vera and Rocio. You both mentioned that you have implemented the variable tariff salary schemes with the step tariff components, which is a particular interest, one of our particular interests. And in fact, we are working with it together with the regulator to restructure and remodel our current tariff scheme. And I would like for you to share us, if you have the experience, when was this tariff changes introduced, and what was the challenges of this restructurization? And finally, if you have any advantages, what is the advantages of your current tariff scheme compared to standard per cubic meter prices? Thank you.
Well, in Portugal we have the fixed part of the tariff also to cover the fixed costs, and then the varied costs are covered by the tariff that is set as per a block system. But the blocks are different from the ones that were referred in Spain, because we have currently a tariff recommendation, and the blocks are the first 5 cubic meters, then the additional 10 cubic meters, and then after the 15 cubic meters, you have a third block of additional 10 cubic meters, and then a fourth block. We are currently changing so that we only have 3 different blocks. The first one 5, then 10 additional, and then a third block that covers everything. The rationale for this is so that we have the first block that is subsidized by the second block. So the first block covers what we say the water for bath and soup. So it's 5 cubic meters per family. We are considering a 3-person family. If there is an additional number of people in the family, then this first block is added a cubic meter per additional member of the family, so that there is a social perspective around this. If you have a family that has more than 3 people, then this family also benefits from this social block of the tariff. The second block is the one that recover costs. Okay, so it is a 10 cubic meter part of the tariff that recovers costs for these 10 cubic meters and the 5 ones that are in the first block. This means that even without the social tariffs, because we also have a social tariff, but even without the social tariffs, this tariff system is an equitable tariff system, because it allows the first use of water, that is the basic use of water. It's much more cheaper than the remaining part of the water. And then when you exceed the 15 cubic meter consumption, then there is kind of an environmental penalty for having an excess use of water for domestic purposes. So the water is, the price is higher than the remaining blocks of the tariff. With this type of structure, what is meant is that you have a social use of water for your basic consumption. You are also recovering costs, so there is the recovery cost principle, and you are also actually aiming at environmental protection and, of course, fighting scarcity. But this is the last part of the consumption is not that relevant for scarcity, because usually water consumption, the demand is a fixed demand. So it gives you a signal, and when there is scarcity, we recommend that the prices are a bit higher, so that there is a signal for people not to consume that much. But it is only a signal, because when we speak about domestic consumption, what we see is that domestic consumption demand is usually very, it doesn't vary that much according to the price. So this is and we have a consumer per capita of 180 liters per capita. So it's not that higher for regarding the standards. So this is the tariff structure. Good things about this tariff structure is that it's equitable, it's easy to understand, and it provides a very good reasoning of who is paying for what, and the social use of water. So this is something that we think it's relevant for a regulatory perspective. The downside of it is, of course, it's much easier to implement a price per cubic meter, and that's it. That's easier. Sometimes it's more difficult to explain the price of the water services in Portugal, because whenever people ask me, how much does water cost in Portugal? Well, I take a deep breath and I say, well, average is 1.14 euros per cubic meter, but this is average because the first 5 and then the 10, so it's more difficult to explain, but it's a fair system, we think. But of course, this is also complemented with one thing that was referred regarding the Spanish case, which is the social tariffs. Because even with this tariff structure, there is a need actually to have a social tariff for households that really are below the income, daily income that provides them accessibility to these services. So we also have a social tariff pricing system, but the basic and the baseline of our tariff system is also socially equitable, because we have this block system.
So Vera has explained to you the main differences. I would like to point that in Spain we try to avoid the cross subsidies. We are present in thousands of municipalities in Spain, and we have the data. And we know that the number of clients that really can't pay the price of the water is always below 2% of the clients, usually below 1%. So we don't feel the need to have a first block subsidized, because we are not benefiting the ones that really need help. So we try to have people knowing how much the water service costs. At the end, the rest of the mechanism is similar. We look for water consumption efficiency. If you are working on setting this different structure, you need to analyze and to have good data so that you know the consumption per person, the cost of the service, the number of people living in a household. If this is something that varies a lot, then you should have one tariff that takes into consideration people living in each household, because at the end you are setting a block which will change of price, doubling the price or multiplying by 3, and it needs to be fair. So data and the know-how of water tariff structures is very important to aim to the objective.
Just one other comment, because you asked when we started to implement, and I think that this is for us very, very relevant, because changing the rules of the tariffs has an impact in the consumer, and so it is something that needs to be done very carefully, and we don't do it from one day to the other. So we have a tariff recommendation ever since 2008 that has been evolved. So the last tariff recommendation is dated 2022, and the municipalities have adhered to this tariff recommendation. So now we are implementing a different set of rules that are binding, are not recommendations, so it's a regulation, and we are preparing them. And one of the topics that we are considering is whether or not our rules will be disruptive with what the consumer already has. And we have decided not to be disruptive in what regards tariff setting, for instance. So even if we think, well, it could be better to have the first block not 5 cubic meters, but 10 cubic meters, the fact that this is going to change what the municipalities have adhered to 15 years ago, this is something that we are considering also a downsize of the change. So we decided not to change because we have a long history of tariff setting where actually people are okay with this block system. And so even if it's not perfect, it could be 5 cubic meters or 7 cubic meters or 8 cubic meters. Where's the frontier? It's not an exact science. So when establishing these blocks, we also consider the people. Are they used to this or not? If they are used to this and they accept this, this is good, this is okay. So then we and of course, if it's wrong, we try to, but if it's not a black or white thing, if it is something that has been accepted and okay, it could be better, but it could be worse, and this is fair, then we are trying to implement things that are already being accepted by the people and by the municipalities, because otherwise we will have fights over things that may not matter that much.
Thanks. Very interesting dialogue on this matter, really. Is there anybody else that would like to propose a topic or ask any particular matter? Okay, then we close the... Is there somebody there? You need a microphone, sorry. Is it possible? Thank you. Great, thanks.
You just mentioned here the water losses in Georgia is 7%. If you not have a meters for each houses, how you can be guaranteed the losses of it's around 7%?
Jose Miguel, I think this is a question for you, Jose Miguel.
You said 7%? We would like to have 7%. But the truth is that water losses is much higher. But it is true that, of course, having practically 50% of the customers without meters, more than 300 or around 350,000 customers without meters, is really impossible to know exactly the consumption. But of course, in order to have a more accurate data, what we are doing is installing general meters in the buildings, not in all buildings, but selecting buildings that can be representative in the city, placed in different areas of the city, different heights, etc., etc. So we want, at least statistically, to have a measure, okay, that we can really utilize as a reference. Because what is not valid is simply to assume that the household consumption or the consumption per capita per person is going to be 300 liters per day or 9 cubic meters per month, because this is not exact. We need to have a measure, and that's why we are installing these general meters. I'm not sure about it.
Anatol, would you like to discuss something about this matter?
I think that it's about the necessity to say that in the case that you want to decrease the water losses, it's about the sources in the tariff. And in the case that you have enough money for the maintenance and for the repairs, you can work with the water losses. Without the financial background, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Okay, thanks a lot. You, please, of course, Vera, please.
Sorry, about the water losses topic. I just wanted to let you know that this is a huge concern also for the European Commission, how to measure water losses, because each EU country has its own way to measure, and it's a relevant topic under the Drinking Water Directive too. So the European Commission is currently actually trying to set out a KPI, a relevant KPI that will be equal to all member states to measure water losses, whether it be non-revenue water or a part of the non-revenue water. And in WAREG, we have made an assessment of all the indicators that exist around our members to measure water losses, and each had one indicator, so it's very different from member to member also. And in Portugal, we have two different KPIs to try to measure water losses, so non-revenue water and real water losses, physical losses. But it's very difficult to have exact numbers for each country. And this is also a relevant role for the regulator to be able to have this information, accurate information, auditable information around the country and for each utility, because this will lead the way for a lot of indicators and investment needs too. But this is a topic in Europe, yes.
Thank you, Vera. Okay, any other questions from the audience? Okay, thank you very much to everybody for attending this panel. And thanks to the fantastic speakers who have given us a lot of insights about this matter of tariffs and on revenue water, so on and so forth. Thanks. Thank you a lot to all of you.
Thank you.
International Water Futures Forum.